All right, next up, we have Kelly Bishop. Uh, she is our broker
Mhm.
of record in Texas. So if you missed that meeting, yes, we have expanded into Texas a few weeks back. And Kelly's been working diligently on kind of getting our brand out there and getting set up and all that fun stuff. But thought it'd be fun to interview someone who, you know, we all started new at some point, right? And let's see what Kelly did to build her career. She's 8 or 9 years in now, so she's seasoned, of course. And seasoning doesn't just come with time; it comes with experience in doing deals. So Kelly has done a lot of deals, and so I thought it'd be fun to kind of pick her brain and see. You know, how she got to where she is today. So, good morning, Kelly. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm good.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so just to introduce myself a little bit more, I've been in for 8 years. Started off at a big box brokerage for a couple of years, and it wasn't going well. Ended up, switching over to um, a model that was a lot smaller and more. We call it boutique brokerage over here in Texas. And just took off from there. And then we were coming into the clear cooperation thing, and I noticed that like my brokerage wasn't really talking about what was coming up, and it was making me nervous. And so I was asking questions and probing them, and they finally started having meetings about it. And it kind of, like made a little um, thought in my brain that maybe I should get a broker's license just in case anything ever happens and I need to jump ship and do what's best for me. So I did that, finished up in November, and then made the decision to join Rise and start this on the Texas side. And yeah, it's
Awesome.
been good. It's been busy, but it's been exciting.
Yeah, I had a similar experience, and that's how I got my broker's license too. Was man, this isn't going real well. Maybe I should get this just in case.
Yeah.
So let's go a little further on that. So how important was joining the right brokerage for you starting out? It sounds like maybe the first one didn't go so well, and then you found this other niche, or did it matter at all, really, and it was just all you?
Um, so when I first started with Big Box, it was training based. And I knew coming out of brokerage classes that I did not know how to do this business. They did teach me some things that were important. One of the big things was, and this is going to sound super silly to y'all, but um, I did not realize this was a sales business
Yeah.
coming in. I thought it was a business of service and I was going to serve clients and all this stuff. And then I ended up in these classes where they were teaching me how to be a salesperson. And unfortunately for them, they were teaching me how to lie through deals to get clients, and it wasn't going to jive with like my ethics. So, it was just very discouraging when I left and went in with the smaller brokerage. I explained to them that that is, not what I'm looking to do, and I need something a little bit more that helps me sleep at night. And they were willing to teach me how to do this business in a way that made me feel comfortable, and that they did. So,
Yeah.
huge props to them for that. And they were super excited when I left last month. It was very amicable, and they were excited for my growth and my business and all that I could do for the real estate industry moving forward. So.
So with that, getting started, um, how did you decide which business building activities were going to be a priority for you? Like, open houses, online lead gen, volunteering. Like, what did you do? What was most worth your time getting started those first few years?
So I think one of the big things is like you have to try a couple different things because some things are going to jive with certain personalities and some things aren't. So when I was with the big box, I committed to 50 open houses, 50, 50. I wanted to see if I can kind of skew how I did them, how I ran them, give them a good shot. And if they didn't work out, I was okay. I did 50 open houses. I did not get one client off of it, but that's me.
Yeah.
However I was running that, it didn't work out for me. I know people that do open houses all the time and they get clients off of it and it's great for them. So I think the biggest thing is just knowing who you are as a person, knowing how you are with other people and what's going to work for you and giving something a good shot before you move on to the next.
Yeah. So what kind of started working for you? Where'd you get your first client? How did you get your first client?
My first client was a very close friend of mine who was going through a divorce, and
Mm,
she sold her house with me. So my first ever deal was a listing, and then she put me down as the agent to help her purchase her new home. And then her aunt moved next door to her, so I was on. So it was like three deals in one, which was amazing. And I tell her all the time I attribute my career to her. But yeah, so it really has to do with just paying attention to your sphere of people in your life and what they're going through, because everybody that's going through any kind of change, there may be an opportunity there for an agent.
yeah. So did you chase that person down, or they just came to you because they saw that you were doing open houses and things like that?
Yeah, I was marketing myself on Facebook. And so I did stay top of mind with her, but I talked to her pretty regularly as well, even though we were no longer living in the same neighborhood. And she had an agent before that she liked just fine, but she was really savvy too, on contracts, paperwork, whatever. It can sometimes be scary for somebody to use somebody that's new, whether they know them or not. But she knew that she was going to oversee and look through everything, and then she also knew that I had a good coach that was going to oversee everything on my end too. So it gave her full confidence to use me.
Yeah, that's good. So that's something that I usually try and talk to our new licensees about too, is, I'm here with you the whole time. If you need to, say that with your clients just so they feel comfortable, then go for it, because it could help them, over that little tiny hump sometimes. Um, so sphere and referrals, I mean, is that where most of your business came from in the beginning, or did
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do some little things?
my sphere was definitely like my friends and family and my church. Like we were kind of like we weren't shoving it down their throat at church.
Yeah,
But we were regular parishioners, and we, did talk about to people, well, outside of this is what I do. So that helped
yeah. So
quite a bit.
did you ever start into lead gen, like paid lead gen at all?
I did. So
You did?
whenever we moved, we didn't have that option, or they apparently we had the option over the big box, but we didn't have that option that I knew of. And so when I moved over, the brokerage that I worked with that was small did the Zillow leads. And so I hit the ground running with that and built my business off of those leads. So, I chased down referrals, repeats. I make sure that every client gets writes a review if it's even possible. Like I will send that the reviews are really important for a lot of reasons. Obviously, you want a good reputation, but also like the algorithms within the internet. Whenever a review is put up on Realtor.com or Zillow or whatever, it boosts your algorithms. So that helps with like now the AI and all of that. So that's really important to me. I'm really, really organized in this business too. I have a template that I send out after closing, and it's got all the links. And I just tell them, write me one review and then copy and paste it to all these different sites, and that helps my business big.
Yeah.
So, and it did, it ended up multiplying because of just those few Zillows. the Zillow, and I do not buy leads at this point. Now I'm repeat referral only. Um, so I don't know. It was able to expand it pretty big.
Yeah. I think I think my first deal came from actually those Homes magazines. You remember those things? And
Oh
you get them at the
yeah.
grocery store and
Hmm.
you run ads in there. So our team leader would run these ads and he'd let us like put some in there. And that's where I got my first deal. But my second deal came from referral as well, like friends and family. So, and that's where I was getting some of my stuff early on too. It's a good way. Time blocking. So, I mean, what does your typical week look like? Um, I don't know. Do you work on the weekends a lot, or are you still doing a lot of? It sounds like you might not be doing the open houses now because that wasn't really working out. But um, what do you do? Like, what's your kind of typical day look like in your week?
It's pretty busy. I do time block. I'm really big on Mondays. I will follow up with my sellers. And on Friday or Thursdays, actually, I follow up with any buyers that I have in the pipeline. The reason I do that is because my sellers have more than likely either had um, showings or they have had no showings, and I need to contact them at least once a week. Like because you don't want to be that agent that like disappears on them. And then on Thursdays, I'm setting up tours if I have buyers in the pipeline, which my buyers are few and far between right now. I love working with buyers. I'm never going to be that agent that's like, I'm a listing agent only, and to each their own. If that's your jam, that's your jam. I just like working both sides. I think it teaches me a lot, even still, 8 years in the business. It teaches me a lot. It keeps me fresh. And there's certain markets where it's just better to have buyers. So I never want to be that person that puts myself in a listing only box.
Yeah.
So
Um,
other than that, my time blocking has to do with, I try to do some at least an hour of social media a day, even if it's just going through and commenting on people's posts that are on my page. Um, just so that I'm staying top of mind. I do 1 hour of that a day for work. Outside of that, I don't really have any kind of time blocking for like contracts. I do them as they come. I've never been the agent that's used to TC because I have a little bit of a control problem. So I don't really understand like teaching somebody to do something that I can do myself when I have the time. And I've kept my business at kind of a like the volume of my business is kept where I can control like everything. It doesn't get like I don't flail.
yeah.
So and I do plenty. So
Yeah.
there's definitely not like a greed in there to like more when the conversation of growth happens with me, it really is about what more can I do for the industry, not necessarily like for more money.
Yeah. In the beginning, what did you choose like a market segment that you wanted to work in, like first time buyers or a certain neighborhood, or were you just like whatever I can get? Like, were you actually trying to focus in with your social media and stuff? And I have to say that commenting on posts for an hour and being involved like that is probably more important than just posting something.
Yeah.
So that's a great way to like really keep engaged with everybody. But um, yeah, so um, what do you think on the other question?
Oh, tell me again, Travis.
Um, we have
Like
a few.
like did I dabble in different kinds of real estate?
Yeah,
Is that
were you putting stuff out there like first time buyers, first time buyers, first time buyers, or were you focused on, one market segment or one area, or were you just kind of taking anything you can get?
No, I think it's really important. There's so many ways to do this business. I think it's really important in the very beginning to be open to all the things.
Hmm.
So, because you're not going to know if you don't like a part of it unless you do it. So, my first deal was a listing, which is odd. my second two deals were new home, new build. When I went over to my small brokerage, I had never filled out a pre-owned home contract.
Oh,
I
geez.
mean, I had in practice, but I
Yeah.
had never done that. But I had also done a commercial lease with a buddy of mine. He was like vice president of sales for a major like corporation out of Jersey. And he needed like a 5 year lease on, a building that he needed like a bay and air conditioning and all this stuff. And so I helped him find that building and that it paid really, really well. I didn't realize that it paid really well until I got in there. But I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was, commercial is a different beast and I'm working on another commercial deal right now, but it's not where I throw myself into, you know.
Yeah.
We have a lot of farm and ranch out here, so I've done a lot of land. Not major, 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 500-acre properties or anything, but it's a big deal out here to get, 20 acres, 30 acres. So I've done a lot of those contracts. I really like doing that. We're actually looking right now into onboarding a landman who
Oh,
has a
nice.
real estate license. And so, I had a little bit of a conversation with him today, and we'll be talking more tomorrow. And, like he'll be a good resource in our brokerage for, those people that want to sell that kind of property. So you just kind of got to dabble and then narrow down like where you want to be.
Yeah. And then decided from there. I guess
Hmm.
that'll lead into a question that came in. Do you plan to expand Rise Realty in Texas like Rise Realty in California has expanded? And I
I
guess
do. I
that would be
do.
like in multiple markets and regions and things like that.
I do. Yeah, that is the goal. Um, what Travis has done here with you guys is really kind and a very pro agent. And it was a hard decision for me to make whether I was going to start up my own brokerage, whether I was going to go with this with Travis, what I was going to do. But looking at and talking to Travis, we had many conversations over what the vision was, and I've always been very pro realtor. We work really hard in this industry, guys. It's not opening a couple of doors for people and filling in some blanks on a contract.
Hmm.
Some of us work really, really, really hard in this, and they should be paid well. And they should have a little bit more leverage to be able to, um, like give to their clients when their clients need to be given to. When we're doing these 70-30 splits in these brokerages and you're trying to figure out kind of where that brokerage is growing and how it's affecting you, it doesn't give you a lot of room as an agent to build what you want to build and to serve how you want to serve. So, I've been in a couple of situations with some clients where there's been like devastation in their family and like it at the point that financially, I can't whittle down to help them on their sale if I have to give so much over to another broker. So I just think that it helps so much in this industry with the way that it is now. With that said, though, if I stick with 30 agents, I'm not going to be paid well.
Yeah.
So we're going to need to expand to a larger amount of agents. So the goal ultimately is to get as many if as Travis
Yeah.
has over there in California.
Nice. Okay. And backtracking just a bit, another question came in for client reviews. What does that template look like? And could we get a copy?
Yeah, yeah, I can send it out to Travis. You guys have to remember always that anything that I have over here, you may want to alter because it's that things are very different in California as far as Texas. So it's very, very simple. It's about a half a page. I copy and paste it into an email and then, It usually works the first time. Sometimes I have to hunt them down though.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Sometimes you get asked nicely a couple times. Do you find it's better to ask like right at the end of the transaction or after it's closed?
I always do after it's closed. So there's a
Yeah,
couple of things that I will do when I go to a closing. I always add that client into my database. I have a database that's just for, and it's just a spreadsheet on Excel. It's just for closed clients, closed transactions. We deal with a lot of people every single day. They don't all need to be in there. So I have a database just for closed transactions. So I always put all of their new information, whatever their new home address is, whatever, I put all into that database so that I don't lose them. And then, their anniversary of when they close. Sometimes there's a birthday in there. I put information in there um, about their family. If I was working primarily with the husband, I put the wife and the kids' names in there. Sometimes the dog's name. That way, when I do reach out, it can be more personal. Um, and then after I'm finished with that database, that takes me like 1 minute. I go ahead and send out the closing letter. Congrats, you're closed and funded. Thank you so much for trusting me with your business, whatever. And then here are my links. And for me, the links are my Facebook page, Zillow, and Realtor.com. If you can think of any other ones that you want to put up there, Travis and I had a conversation the other day about sold.com and how, like I went ahead and built a profile on there just for algorithm points. The
yeah,
more things on the internet and then I've gotten like lots of spam from them since then, but the more you're out in the internet, the more your algorithm will raise. And I check those things too. I'll occasionally write into ChatGPT like who's the top agent in Van Alstyne, Texas,
yeah.
or who's the top 30. I
Uh-huh.
want to see where I'm landing.
Yeah, that's good to do, especially now that that's really come around. It's easy to search yourself rather than just doing a Google search, like actually asking and having that give a little bit of a, I guess, a profile of what you look like online and how you're showing up. Um, so let's talk the first couple years again. So how did you decide? Um, well, I guess, did you start investing in lead gen, like paid leads? And what was the first thing that you invested in?
So, yeah, I was encouraged by my brokerage owner to try whatever, like so what I would do is like after a year with the smaller brokerage, and I had made quite a bit of money that year, I set aside a marketing budget. And so as long as it landed within that marketing budget, I didn't care. It was like throwaway money to me. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it doesn't. We'll move forward the next year if it's great, whatever. So I think the first year, so I applied to be a Ramsey agent. I don't know if any of you guys know what that is, but Dave Ramsey is somebody that we have followed through our marriage, my husband and I, and I always kind of respected the way that he did business. And I had applied right when I came over to my smaller brokerage, and I was denied, which actually made me want to join them more. Because who denies money?
Yeah,
So I thought, oh my gosh, they're super serious about their agents. They have all good agents. That means they have pretty good leads, whatever. So anyway, I moved on. I did some kind of an ad with Realtor.com, which was terrible, absolutely terrible. Um, they, they, I had my profile all right. I met with the counselors to make sure that everything was what it was. They had guaranteed me X amount, and it just didn't, like, I literally got no calls, no leads. So I did it for a year and then I canceled it. But you have to be careful with these things because if you don't cancel it and initiate that cancel, they could just charge you the next year.
yeah,
So, and that didn't happen to me. I put it in my calendar. I was good. The next year, Ramsey called me back. They initiated. And they said, "Are you still interested? We're looking at your production and we would like to interview you to become a Ramsey agent." So I did join them. It was quite expensive, but it was very worth it at that time. Um, I probably closed in 2 years with them, 8 deals that they had initially sent me. And then it ended up expanding out because those deals referred me. So, it was like $2,200 that I had to do their training. And then I had to pay 30% on anything that I closed with them. Um, and I had to pay, I, I don't remember how much. There was a monthly fee too.
Mm.
But my ROI on that was it was up always. And then I didn't have to pay those referrals that I got referred from those referrals. So it was very helpful. I left them about a year ago because their business model changed and I didn't like where it was going. So I ended up ducking out.
Yeah, we are seeing some of these things change as, these some of these lead gen platforms out there. They change over the years, and then I don't know, you just, I guess, kind of fall out of love with them or whatever. I've tried a few over the years that worked well in the beginning, and then they changed up the model, and then like, I guess I didn't change with it maybe, and it just wasn't working quite as good as it used to. So. That's interesting about the Ramsey model, though. I actually have never really looked into it and how it actually worked. Um, I guess the vetting part of it does make it pretty cool, so that you do get good, solid leads.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. I guess, oh, well, let's talk about that a little bit more then. So, rejection and slow periods. So, I've been in the business 23 years now, and I have had several times, obviously, where the market is slow and you kind of get burnt out, or maybe I remember one week I had like 3 deals fall out of escrow, and I was really frustrated, and you just want to kind of like toss in the hat, like, why am I doing this? This is such a pain. Is the reward worth it? So what have you done? Have you experienced that over the years, and what did you do to kind of get out of that rut or that, you know, that I'm just going to hang it up kind of mentality?
So I'm very aware to market conditions in my market. And if I'm starting to worry that it may be me and it may not be the market, I'm not big in the whole, I don't know if you guys can do this over in California, but here in Texas, like you can look up somebody's license number and see how much they produce.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not big into doing that, except for when things are slow. I need to know it's not just me.
Yeah,
So there's a couple heavy hitters like in my area that even do better than me, and I use them as kind of you know, my ceiling. I'm like, well, what's Corey Smith doing? If he's low too from what he is, I'm okay.
yeah,
So I need that confidence boost. And I'm not saying you should be comparing yourself to others because you need to work your business as you work your business. But you do need to know because there is a lot of fluff in this industry at times. Oh my gosh, this is the best time to sell. This is the best time to buy. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. But I can look and see what other people are doing that are like full time in the industry because I am full time. So you need to check yourself occasionally. Are you really doing what like your coach is telling you to do, or you have a realtor friend that's a mentor or whatever? Are you doing the work? Because if everybody else is doing great and you're not, like, what are you doing?
yeah.
So, it's important that you just kind of kind of look and see, evaluate, put a plan together for just the next week. I long-term goals are really hard for me. I'll see a vision and it'll be great, but I can't set a goal on long term.
Hmm.
Um, so, my goals are more like week to week or month to month.
Yeah.
So, I lost a deal 2 weeks ago. Everything just went crazy at the closing table and everybody was mad at everybody. And for some reason, I wasn't able to normally I can calm everything down and it's all good, but it was just rough.
Yeah.
And I evaluated the heck out of that when I got home. And my husband was really worried about me because he's like, "Are you good?" I was good. I just needed to make sure that if there was any other outcome, I wouldn't have done something different. So, make sure to have accountability in your business. That's a big thing.
It's a big thing. I can't even stress that enough. Being accountable, for the position you're in, as far as like when it comes to sales and business and how much money you are or are not making, you really have to kind of look in the mirror sometimes. Be like, okay, am I doing what I need to be doing? Am I putting in my 8 hours, every day? I want to be full time, and I say 8 hours. I mean, I'd love to work 8 hours in a day. I work probably 10 or 12,
I
sometimes more.
know.
Like, um, but getting started out, am I putting in the time and the prospecting,
Yeah,
So, yeah, and then again, looking at some of these deals that fall out, you're like, could I have done something different? Should I said something? And, sometimes it's just it wasn't meant to be for some reason. And I guess you have to chalk it up to that. I mean, we all do our best, to save
yeah,
these things, but sometimes it's not going to work out for whatever reason. We can't beat ourselves up about it. I think that's when you start to get in that rut a little bit.
yeah.
Um,
We have some questions here.
yeah, let me grab a couple.
Um, Ash, yeah, the single most valuable piece of advice you would give to somebody new or part-time in real estate starting out, it's be with the people. Like people, don't be a secret agent. Everybody needs to know that you do what you do. You don't have to shove your business down their throat, but they need to know, oh, she's doing real estate now. But then be in your communities. We have up here in Texas in our tiny little town of 10,000. We have summer concert series coming up. I'm super excited. Sometimes they have some really good bands out there. And we'll just hang out and oh, hi, that's so and so's mom from, like one of my kids' friends or whatever. And they always will ask you, how's business going? How's the market? Whatever. Like lean into those conversations, be with the people. We've got a farmer's market that's every Tuesday afternoon. I try to be visible as much as I can in my town, and my town's probably smaller. But any of these community activities that are going on, make sure you're there. We have one agent that does really well in our town that she's on the city council. More power to her. That's not my jam. Know what doesn't work for you. It's not, I'm not an Instagram person. I do Facebook. I like to watch TikToks. I don't post TikToks, so my husband has tried to help me make videos. I'm not big into videos.
Yeah,
The ones where you're standing in front of the house and you're like, come on, look at the house. Like I struggle with those. Remembering facts about the house when that camera's in my face. I don't know, I freeze up. So it's not my jam, and that's okay. I still do well. So whatever your niche is, whatever you like to do, lean into that with your real estate business.
yeah, that's good advice. If I could throw in my piece, and that is one of them is don't be a secret agent. But secondly is just getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in the beginning because everybody's uncomfortable in the beginning. We don't know what we're doing. We're trying to figure it out. And you just have to embrace that as part of the learning, of this business because it, you don't grow in this business without trying things and putting yourself out there and just doing deals is really how you gain experience.
Yeah.
Um, couple other questions. Is anyone writing letters anymore? What do you use? Do you use your title agent? Do you ever write letters to like expireds and things like that? Or have you?
No,
No.
no, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't do that. I've never done that. But again, like I said, I mean, letters to title agents, like do you do like a handwritten letter or are you talking about like an email?
I think they're talking about writing a letter to maybe an expired listing or maybe
Oh,
a distressed homeowner, like, hey, I'm
yeah.
so and so, and I'm here to help.
That might be super personal. They did talk about that 8 years ago when I first came into the business. I never did that. I was like at that time I was trying to push those open houses and be there to I mean, try it. That's
Yeah,
that's my thing. Like I know that I've never been one of those agents that does the expired calls either. But that works really, really well for a couple of the agents in my area. Um, you have to like sign up to be able to get the phone numbers and contact information for those people. It's not as easy as it seems, but I mean, since people get annoyed that their phone blows up when they pull their house off the market, maybe writing a letter would be better, especially if they're older, Eric. You
yeah,
know, that the elderly like really struggle with this tech age that we're in. So I mean, I don't know, the door knocking and stuff, that's pretty taboo these days with all the ring cameras and everything else going on. If you just watch anything on social media, they'll say like, who does this anymore? Well, there's still people that do it, but I
yeah.
just I just really implore you guys to like try things, but if you're gonna try it, don't do it once. Like commit,
hmm
So
Consistency is better than uh, perfection.
yeah,
We're not going to get it perfect right off the bat, but being consistent with it is what ends up, yielding results.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
unless you're
There's
doing 50.
there's a guy out in California in he's in Apple Valley
Uh,
and he's an agent for some kind of brick and mortar, I don't remember. But he committed to 100 open houses in 100 days.
oof,
And I was like, man, that's it's
that's a lot.
that's a commitment. I give him huge props. I don't know how well that worked for him. I don't know. I'm curious. I
Yeah,
should follow up, but
yeah, that's a lot. I started with mailers. So I guess if you want to, I wasn't handwriting things. I did like a pre-printed flyer that was super crappy. But it worked. And
yeah,
that's how I actually built my listing business. And do mailers work? I'm a big fan of mailers. Even today, as long as you do them correctly and consistently, that is the key, is consistently. I believe that they work excellent. And I
yeah,
have seen some agents that will, instead of, sending hundreds or thousands out, they'll do, maybe 50 handwrittens, to specific properties, based on, maybe it was driving for dollars, they drove by and, everything's overgrown, the house looks vacant, maybe they're trying to pick up, uh, a listing there with the owner saying, hey, is this thing a burden, or expireds or anything like that. But I have been hearing from a few people that do the cold calls that the pickups have definitely dropped. People just aren't answering the phone
yep,
like they were before. And I think it's because we all get so much spam call that we just let everything go to voicemail now.
yeah, for sure.
What marketing strategy works best in Texas? And I think that's kind of a loaded question because this would be, what works for you doesn't work for another agent and vice versa. But I
Yeah.
guess what's been consistent for you?
So, like for me, it's really about where my comfort zone lies. And, like I said, I'm comfortable just being with the people and talking with the people, showing up to the things and being in the community. And like every time I go out to dinner with my husband, or, we have this little distillery that we'll go to. And, like it's about like kind of you travel around, say hi to everybody, shake their hand. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you in a minute, whatever, like just being that person in the community is helpful. And then just making sure to make value posts too, like on Facebook. If I do post, it's usually a value post. I also post my closings to let them know I am active and full time.
Yeah.
But when I say value post, I mean something that helps a homeowner. If they're thinking next year I'm going to sell, start putting bugs in their ear about what they can be doing to their house to give it like the best value. Start putting bugs in their ear about how to interview listing agents. Like those are value posts to me, and they are so well respected here, because there's so many people that are like, and don't be judgy of other agents. Know that there's like a billion times ways to do this business. So if somebody's doing something, don't be like, well, that's illegal. I mean, if it is, it is. But don't just look the other way. It's not up to you. It's not for you to call out. And I don't know, just always stay on the positive. Always be coming from a place of like just helping.
Yeah. Actually, that's really important.
Yeah.
Um, so what about let's talk about mistakes early on. So what was your biggest mistake as you were kind of getting your footing in the business? Was it with a deal? Was it something you spent a large amount of money on that you thought was going to work and nothing happened? What do you think?
That
Looking back.
realtor.com subscription was definitely a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, that was they have 50 other different packages you could choose from. Maybe something else works. I don't know. I think I don't know. It's hard for me to call it a mistake because I've learned from every single thing.
Yeah.
Like I will tell you, I've never lost a deal until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I've never lost a deal. I always figured out a way to get it to the closing table. You are the cooperating broker. Like you have to get that in your brain. Like there is an end goal here for everybody involved. An end goal for the title company, for the seller, for the buyer, for you, for the other agent, even for the tradesmen, that come in and help fix the house. The end goal is to get that house sold, and so everybody can move on to whatever they're trying to do. And you're facilitating that deal. So, like, don't be impulsive. If there's a problem that arises, the biggest thing is just let me sit with this. Let me figure out what our options are and what's best going to suit you, and we'll work from there.
Yeah.
So if you're impulsive and you're yelling at another agent, or you're mad at a contractor, or you're calling up the title company and saying you screwed up my deal, like make sure again with accountability that you're just like, how can I assist us into getting this where it needs to be? Because things happen in this business all the time. I have a deal right now where the HOA company changed in the middle of us going under contract. So we couldn't get the HOA paperwork in the time period that was allotted for the addendum. And we just had to extend it. It's okay. These things happen. There's no reason to get buck wild. So, you have to kind of slow your roll sometimes and just, roll with the punches.
Yeah, and sometimes just letting things play out just a little bit, even over the next few hours or half a day, you'll
Hmm.
find that tempers cool down a little bit and like things start to unfold. Sometimes agents want to, we got to settle this right now. And I'm like, well, let's give it a give it a chance here for a second. Everybody slow down.
Yeah.
So, I think for
And
me,
save your money, guys. If you're new
uh,
at this, like save those commission checks. Don't be like, woo, I got 10 grand. I'm gonna go. play the horses or whatever it is you do.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
you got to save that money because there's going to be times when you have no deals closing.
it does happen. And on that, what budgeting or financial practices help you survive early on when, you had your peaks and valleys and you'd sell two homes 1 month and then you wouldn't sell anything for 3 months? Like, how did you balance that?
Okay, so to be fair, when I came into this business, my husband worked for an international division with an oil company, and I was not the sole provider for the household. He was. So there was no pressure for me. So, like you guys need to know that, like I probably would not have started this if it was like up to me to feed the family. Not that I'm saying that you can't do it if that's the situation that you're in, but there just wasn't a lot of pressure. So that helped me to keep my cool during those times, Well, that sucks. I put a lot of time and energy into this and it looks like it's going downhill, but let's see if we can save it. So
Hmm.
now I am the primary on the finances, but my husband is the one that budgets everything out to make sure that we always have enough. So it's really about like socking away some of every check for taxes, for commissions, for, we are like we talked about earlier, Ramsey fans, so we are really big into not carrying debt. We pay cash for cars. We pay our credit. We have credit cards. We just pay them off every month. So that there's no pressure on the business. So if you can get, and that's not necessarily feasible for everybody, but if you can get yourself to a point where things are paid off and you get a slow period, you don't have to go under or go get a job at Costco, then try to get yourself to that point.
Yeah. It does take a little time. About how many years in do you think it took you to get to that point where you're like, I can be the sole income source here and we'll be totally fine, or even better than fine.
I was probably 3 years in at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened with my husband was he was with the international department and then COVID hit. So there was no international flying, you know.
Yeah.
So the company he worked for had offered him a space in the division for West Texas, which meant he would be away a lot longer and get paid way less. And he just went ahead and took his severance and gave it up. And then he ended up going into real estate photography. So he shoots houses for other realtors and myself. He does drone photography, 3D Matterport walkthroughs, all the things. And then when we decided to open up with Rise, he has taken on, he's not here right now. I'd introduce him, but he's not in here. He has taken on like the entire business portion. He does have a business degree, so he's taken on the entire business portion of the brokerage. So I deal with compliance and training, and then he deals with all the business stuff.
Yeah. It's a good setup. Yeah, I guess we're getting about at time. Let's end with mindset, personal development. So, what personal development habits, reading, coaching, mastermind groups, etc., have helped you the most in building your career up to be where you are now?
Guy, I love to train. Um, I just think it's like so rewarding to teach an agent to do their job the way that I do my job when I see them on the struggle bus. I'm really patient with agents that are younger in the business, and I had a friend that I've known since I was 13, and she moved to Azle, Texas, about 5 years ago, and she got into real estate, and she was with other brokers, and I trained her on how to be a realtor because she wasn't getting the training that she wanted. So that's a big thing. I mean, they call it coaching, but like I did that for her because she was a kind friend that I've known forever. Um, I do keep up with what's going on in our industry in the news. I think that that's really, really important. You don't have to take everything to heart, but I knew all about clear cooperation way before that ever went to court. Um, we will always be an ever-changing industry, always. So it is really, really important for us to kind of know what's coming so we can plan how we're going to deal with it. What
Yeah.
about you, Thomas?
Um, I like to focus a lot on, um, I say my health. Like I recognize when I'm building up with maybe some stress or anxiety, which I handle a lot better now than I used to, even 5 or 6 years ago, because everything always works out. And so, but I found that, going on a run or something like that is really beneficial for me, to keep, a level head and to stay focused. It's when I come up with a lot of ideas. Um, it's when I work through a lot of things I have going on with deals or even our agents' deals when we get into sticky situations. Sometimes just going for that, 45-minute run or something helps me work it out. And so that really is probably number one. Keeping up to date 100%. I like to, I get little, I subscribe to things in my email, and, 90% of it I toss out, and the other 10% I read when it comes in. And it's short reads. I don't really do podcasts and stuff like that. Some people prefer podcasts and other news sources, I guess. But I like to do a quick read, and then if I want to dig in a little bit more, I will. But just to kind of keep up to date with what's going on in the industry, who's doing what, and there's so much movement right now. It seems like everything's moving so fast. So I think it is important because, like you said, if you're going to be out in the community, people are going to ask you questions.
Hmm.
How's the market? How's this? What should I do? And so keeping up to date, and that's part of the reason why we do, the mortgage update, things like that on Monday. So at least you can, kind of keep in tune with where the rates are and stuff. We need to know all of this stuff um, in our industry, and it gets difficult to juggle it all, but at least knowing some, it
Yeah.
definitely helps out
Yeah.
when you're talking to people. So,
Yeah, I did listen to a podcast early on,
mhm.
um, and it was called Hustle Humbly. And it's a couple of ladies out of New Orleans or I don't know, somewhere over there. And they were amazing. Like they talked about the differences between them and how they run their business, and they talked about all the organizational tools and how to do certain things and be able to grow in a way that, keeps you in like check.
Yeah,
So I found it very, very, I had listened to quite a few different podcasts, like touched on them, and I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. That one was really easy to understand and very, very helpful to me. So Hustle Humbly is what it's called if you want to try to catch one.
all right. Looks like we had one other one. Do you think young or newer licensed realtors spend money on business? Question mark. I found it was even, but brought back returns. Hmm.
I think
Uh,
you can spend money or you can't, or you cannot. I don't know. I don't know.
it's
I
time or
think it's,
money, right?
yeah,
You got to spend one of them to build the
yeah,
business.
yep, yep.
If you can spend both, then you'll really see it grow. But if you don't have a lot of money, then you got to spend time. And if you got money, then spend that, and you probably spend a little less time. You mentioned the elderly and technology. Are a lot of your clients older? Question mark. Is there anything you do intentionally setting up that file or that transaction to help the older clients with the tech they will have to interact with during the transaction, lender portal setups, contract disclosure signings, wiring funds, loan docs, grant deeds, client reviews, etc.?
Yeah, so my neighborhood, I sell a lot in my neighborhood and we're an older neighborhood that started in the late 80s and we have a lot of elderly. And for the most part, they're doing okay. They know how to open an email and stuff like that. Sometimes I will have to go and sit down with them and show them how the signing system works. But it's rare. Usually, when somebody is doing something, they'll incorporate a family member that's younger and knows how to
Mm,
do it, and they will sit
yeah,
with them. So it's okay. They just, you're if you're marketing with technology, they're not gonna see it. So
yeah. And then how do you increase your visibility in the community?
I go out in the community. I will
Yeah.
attend classes, attend workshops, attend um, farmers markets, it kind of depends. You have to look and see what kind of community activities that your area has. We have that summer concert series, so I go to those, and Halloween's a big deal around here. So, I'll try to attend a couple of Halloween parties, whatever. So, if you get burnt out on peopling, which a lot of people do,
Yeah.
then that's tough. But you can do it.
Yeah. I think it's the difference between the ones that you're choosing. Is it a I have to or I get to?
Yeah,
And if you're going to a lot of I get tos, you're probably not going to get burnt out and you're
right,
going to
right.
enjoy what you're doing and it's going to be reflective with your conversations. If you
Yeah.
are in the mindset of I have to, it's going to be a grind for you and I don't think it's going to work out that well in the end.
Yeah,
Uh,
and you won't be in the right mindset to be with
mm,
them. Like you'll just be annoyed. So if you have that morning where you're waking up going, I don't want to do this, don't do it.
yeah.
Like to only go if you want to go, because otherwise you're gonna have that face on you. Do you set up a booth there? I have in my community. Usually I have some kind of an activity. Our community, whenever they have any kind of farmers markets or whatever. I don't set it up at the farmers market, but we have falderall is what they call it. They insist that anybody that has a booth there has some type of activity with their booth to make it more community involved, which is great. So then we get to be like super creative and do something kind of fun. And so last time I think I had like this giant color house, like that I got off of Amazon for like 20 bucks. And
Hmm.
then I bought a bunch of crayons. And so all the kids like came over and they colored my color house. And
Nice.
you could like play in the house. You could like
Yeah.
open the little door and like climb in, and then like whoever like put their names and stuff inside of my little fishbowl. I had bought two color houses. One of them I had on display to use, and the other one was a giveaway.
Mm,
So somebody would win the color house, and it's just a little playhouse. But I don't know. You can do different stuff, and it's kind of fun. I like it. But I
yeah.
don't set up a booth every time. But yeah.
Not every, yeah. So, yeah, that's all good info. So I'm getting, as we kind of wrap up here, that your biggest return on investment is actually participating in the community, and that's where you're sourcing most of your business. And the business that you're sourcing from that is business that you want to be attracting.
Yes.
It's not forced.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's a great way to run a business, and it's a great way to just not get burnt out.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy in this business to get that burnout. And so I think you're really doing it right with doing stuff that you would probably just be doing even if you weren't in the business. You'd be going to
Mhm.
these things and having conversations with people and just being out in the community.
Yeah.
So
Yes, yes, yes.
cool.
It was
Any
nice to
other
meet everybody.
Yeah, any other questions for Kelly? Now's the chance, to well, I mean there's lots of chances, but we have her captive right now, so it's easy. So if you have any other questions on just kind of business building or anything else. So I think a lot of it's just getting out there, putting yourself out there and doing the work. You got to do that prospecting and Even though the 50 open houses didn't yield anything for you, you stayed committed. And I think that was, probably really important
Yeah,
foundationally for you that you did stay committed the entire time to it. And then you found that it wasn't for you.
yeah.
So I'm the same. I'm not an open house guy. So uh, I'd rather, but I'd rather share the wealth and let somebody else do that, and get some leads who really does like to do the open houses. So,
Yeah,
but all right. Well, lots of thank yous here, and thank you from me as well for coming on. I really appreciate your time and just kind of sharing your journey.
of course.
Um, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. But
Yes.
yeah, if you have any referrals, Kelly's in the Dallas Fort Worth area, so if you have any clients moving up that way, you can always reach out to her. She will definitely take care of them. And likewise, if she has any moving this way, we'll definitely look within the roster first. So,
Yes, for sure, for sure.
all
Thanks,
righty.
guys. It's so nice to meet you, and you're so welcome for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. All right. We'll see you. Everybody have a great week.
All right, bye.
All right. Bye.